Okay, welcome to Get Marathon Race Week Right. And I'm going to be taking you through some of the traumas that new marathoners have in the lead up to their first marathon. So let's get going. I will share my screen and fingers crossed we don't have any tech issues. And we'll get going. So we're going to be talking about taking you through some of the traumas that new marathoners have in the lead up to their first marathon. And I'm going to give you some ideas about how you can have a stress-free week to arrive at your race confident and ready to run. Now, the week leading up to your marathon, to the race, is always super stressful. Whatever you're feeling right now, however many races you've run, however many halves or ultras or marathons before, I can guarantee race week, you're going to be feeling a bit nervous, a bit jittery. You're going to sort of think, oh my goodness, there's only 5 days to go. You're going to feel niggles and injuries that just haven't been there before. You're going to be confused about carb loading and what you need to be eating. You'll either want to eat absolutely everything in the house, or you won't be able to eat anything at all. So are you traumatized by the thought of tapering, not running as much, and you're worried about losing fitness, so you just want to keep on pushing through your training? And right now, are you a carb queen? And have you been loading up your plate and pigging out on carbs and pasta because you're in training and you've been doing that since Christmas? And are you petrified about race day itself? About how you're going to get your race number, how you're going to travel to the start, and whether or not there's going to be portaloos along the route, and what the queues are going to be like. Oh my goodness, loo queues are probably the #1 worry for everybody in the weeks coming up to race day. So this evening, I am going to tell you a little bit more about why you need to be tapering and not keep on pushing yourself through your plan and pushing yourself hard right up to race day. I'm also going to be talking to you a little bit about race week food, so you can carb load with confidence without feeling bloated and without putting on weight, because carb loading is one of these myths. One of the things that a lot of people who are training to run marathons just think they just need to be doing it 24/7 for the 4 months right up until race day. So there is a right way to carb load and there's a wrong way too. Because I want to make sure that you can get prepared and ready to run your marathon on race day, that you're ready and eager to run. So just tell you a little bit about me. Some of you I know we've met a number of times, and there were some faces there, some names on the list that we've never met. So welcome. It's great to meet you. So I'm Helen. I call myself the Cheesecake Runner. It's a long story, but I love cheesecake and I love running. So I think that's good enough. I am now a nutrition coach and I work with runners and I help people get their diet right to run, and I'm working with loads and loads of marathon runners right now. Now I've ran quite a few marathons myself, but I wasn't always sort of fit and healthy, and I wasn't always a runner. So it's only in the last few years that I've really got into distance running and running marathons. And last year I ran my 10th marathon. Now I'm not fast, but I'm keen. And over the last few years in those 10 marathons, in building up to those 10 marathons, I've pretty much made all the mistakes in the book in my training. So I think I'm well placed to give you, some of my training and tapering tips and the tips that I've got to help you build up towards race day. So what are we going to be covering this evening? So first up, we're going to be talking about some of the mistakes that new marathoners make in the final week of training, okay? We're also going to be talking about carb loading, and I'm going to talk about why carb loading is so critical for your race day success. And I'm then going to talk about what you need to be doing now for race day success. Not something you can put off for weeks and weeks and weeks and only think about the day before race day. There are so many things that you can get sorted right now that will really help you, especially through race week. Because I want to make sure that you are ready to run your marathon and you can have the best day ever. Okay, I'm going to start off talking about taper traumas. Now, why do people get taper wrong? And you know, what is taper and why is it so important? So the first mistake that a lot of new marathoners make is to keep on training and keep on training hard, fearing that they're going to lose fitness or they're going to put on weight if they're not running hard. Now, the first marathon I did exactly this. I didn't taper. I didn't know that there was a thing called taper. I had a plan, but I have to say I didn't really stick to my training plan. You know, if I went out for a run, they were pretty much all the same types of runs. So when it came to race week, I was still training hard. I was still going out for exactly the same types of runs that I'd been doing before. And race day, I really paid the price. I had a terrible race. It just doesn't bear thinking about, but I learned my lessons and I learned some really hard lessons. Now, let me tell you a little bit about marathon training and the marathon training plan that you are following. Marathon training is designed to build fatigue into your body, okay? So what you will find, I mean, right now, if you're training for London, we are now getting to the point where we're doing our maximum mileage weeks. So I know there's quite a lot of people that I'm working with at the moment who did 20 miles at the weekend or maybe 16 miles. So we're now getting into the bulk of our training, the really long runs, okay? But way back in January or beginning of February, probably our longest run was, you know, maybe 8 or 10 miles. And now we're looking back on that and going, oh, it was only 8 miles. When does 8 miles suddenly become only 8 miles? Anyhow, so we're now at the point where we are running very long distances. But what's happening in our training program, we're not just doing one run a week. We're not just running our 16, 18 or 20 mile run. Through midweek, you're probably doing maybe another 2, maybe 3, or maybe you've got one of those crazy plans that's 5 runs a week and you're doing, you know, maybe another 4 runs or something daft like that. So what actually happens is when you go out and you do your long run, your super long runs, most of us do them at the weekends, you'll be training with fatigue in your body because your body is going to still be tired from all the running that you're doing in the week. And then once you've done your run, you're not giving yourself much of a break to get your body fit and recovered and repaired from the long runs that you're doing. There's more training that you've got to do in the following week. So what actually happens is through your marathon training, you're building fatigue into your body. And marathon training is relentless. You know, it's week in, week out. And what you find is the fatigue that you've got in your body, it's gradually building, okay? And there's a reason for that. We want to be building that fatigue in our body because it helps us to become stronger and stronger runners. And also, it means that one race day, when we're running fresh, then we've got some more miles in our legs. Okay, so through our training plan, we're doing a lot of running and we are running fatigued, okay? We're building fatigue into our bodies. The reason we do taper is because we need to recover from our running, okay? So we need to start, the reason you do taper is for recovery and to allow your body to rest a little bit more. So by the time you get to race day, you are going to be fresh as a daisy and ready to run. So what happens during taper? Well, taper usually takes about, between 2 and 4 weeks. Now, different people taper for different lengths of time, and it really depends on your experience level, levels of fitness, and how far your longest run will be. Most of us will start to taper off. We'll have a 3-week taper period. That's what I'm doing this year. So I'm running London, and my longest run is going to be on the 7th of April. Which is the same day as Manchester Marathon. So I'm going to be out there doing my longest run. And then the next couple of weekends, I'm going to be gradually reducing my long runs on those weekends, so that I'm allowing my body to start to repair and recover from the running that I've been doing. So need to make sure that you do taper right up until race, have that taper period, which can be between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on your training plan. So I really, really urge you to follow your training plan. Don't be a complete and utter plonker like I was and ignore it and think you know better, because if you're a first-time marathoner, you don't know better. Okay, next up, as you taper, what you're going to be doing is, you start backing off on your training, and that means you're going to be burning fewer calories. Now, if you followed a healthy eating approach through your training, you're probably doing okay. But if your training nutrition through your marathon training has been, your approach has been to really pig out on pasta and pile your plate at every single opportunity, you're going to be in for a little bit of a shock, and you'll likely put on weight through taper period. So my recommendation to you is to match your diet to your training, okay? So on those days when you're doing reduced mileage, you need to make sure that you're reducing the total number of calories that you're eating on that day, okay? So on the days when you're still doing long runs, yes, you still need to make sure that you've got energy in your body, but through taper, you do need to start matching your diet to your training, and that does mean reducing some of the food that you will be eating. Now, I'm a nutrition coach, and I work with runners and trying to sort of make sure that their diet is right for their marathon training. So if you need any help with making sure that your diet is right for your training or for your taper, send me a message and we can have a call and I can see if I can help. Okay, so talking about food and talking about taper, there's a lot of people who often have this idea that they've got to be carb loading continuously. And as soon as taper happens, oh my goodness, we're getting near to race day, and that means you've got to start carb loading. Now, you've heard all about carb loading, but it's critically important to ensure your body is loaded with glycogen before your race. But another mistake that new runners make is that they start to carb load way too soon before race day. You really only need to be starting your carb loading in the final 2 to 3 days before your race. And if you start carb loading too early, what you're going to be doing is you could risk putting on weight, which you really don't want to be carrying extra pounds around the race on race day. So right now, at this moment, you need to hold off on the pasta. Oh my goodness, there's the carb loading slide. Right, next up, forget travel. Okay, right. So we've moved on from some of the nutrition stuff. And the people are going, well, Helen, why are you talking to me about travel? The reason I'm talking to you about travel is because in the London Marathon Training and Support Facebook group last year, travel and getting around London and tube strikes and all of that malarkey was the #1 stressor in the group, okay, in the few weeks before marathon. So travel can be a complete and utter nightmare. So my piece of advice for you leading up to race day is that you need to make sure that you check your travel. Now, travel delays happen, and there's nothing you can do if you've got a travel delay, but you can control your response to them. Every single time I have run London, and I've run London, how many times? 3, 4, I can't remember. Every time I've run a race in London, let's just put it that way, and I've done a few halves in London as well, every time I've done it, my train line has always had emergency engineering work, okay? I live just outside London, and it's about a 40-minute journey into Waterloo, and every single time I want to run a race, my trains are cancelled or whatever. So I've learned from experience, you have to have a plan A. Maybe from your local station, or a plan A about how you're going to travel. You need a plan B and you need a plan C, because the last thing you want on race morning are your travel plans to be scuppered, guys. So if you're flying, or if you're getting trains, or even if you're driving, make sure that you give yourself plenty of time, and make sure you've got a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. Now, last year, London Underground threatened to strike over marathon weekends. That is quite a common occurrence. They've threatened to strike quite a number of times over the last couple of years, and it's never actually happened. They usually sort something out, some sort of deal. So at the moment, I haven't heard any rumours that there are any strikes going to be planned. And I would have thought we'd have heard something now, because we're 5 weeks out. But if something like that gets threatened, there's nothing you can do about it, okay? And there are so many people who are going to be in London who descend on London for London Marathon that it usually gets itself sorted out. So if you hear of anything like a train strike going on in London that weekend, chill out, it'll get sorted, guys. Okay, hotels. Oh my goodness. I do urge, if you are staying in London for marathon weekend, my big piece of advice to you right now is to check and double check your booking with your hotel. Make sure you've reconfirmed and you have that in writing, and you are still booked in where you think you're booked in. Last year, quite a number of marathon runners last minute had their hotels cancel on them, or their Airbnbs cancel on them. So please make sure that you've got it checked and double checked, and do it now, because you really don't want that to be happening to you just a few days before race. That is the last panic that you need right now. So right now, check your travel, have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, and double confirm your accommodation if you're staying in London. Okay, next up, you do not want to try new trainers on the race. So a marathon, it's a brilliant chance to wear your new kit or your best kit. But please, please, please test it out in training first. Trainers these days don't need breaking in, but you need to make sure that they are right for your fit, and there's no sort of niggly bits. You're not going to get a blister where you've never had a blister before. And also make sure that you test out all the clothes that you're going to be wearing. Test everything out. Test, if you're carrying a hydration pack, or you've got a bum bag where you're carrying your gels or anything like that. Make sure in the next couple of weeks, when you're doing your long runs, that you're wearing the kit that you're going to be wearing, fully laden, fully loaded for race day. Because there's nothing worse than realizing that your lovely new Run London ticky boos give you some chafing where you don't want chafing. Okay, so it's best to know that now, so you can make a decision as to whether or not you're going to wear those leggings, or whether you need to body glide up beforehand. So next, spread fear on Facebook. Okay, the last week before the marathon, panic can start to set in. And as panic sets in, a lot of people have an overwhelming need to share their panic with everybody else and everybody on the internet. And what happens? One person, it's been like a snowball. One person shares their paranoia, their panic. And, so the next person goes, oh, so you read that and you go, oh, I'm not panicked about that. Oh, maybe I should be panicked. Oh my goodness. And what you end up with is panic spreading more panic, and giving more fear. And it can end up with this big snowball effect of Facebook group panic, about everyone panicking about, loos and carb loading and trains and gels and all sorts of stuff through the last week before your marathon. It's called paranoia, and we all get it. We all get those sorts of panics. But I would advise you, if you're beginning to panic, share your concerns, but please don't over panic other people. And if you're the sort of person who gets panicked by panic, and if reading someone else's concerns and panics are panicking you, then maybe you need to be doing a little bit of a Facebook detox in the final days before the marathon, because this is your race. You don't feel that you need to be checking in with everyone on Facebook, liking everybody's posts about how well everyone's doing on their training runs, or their carb loading or whatever. If you are getting panicked by seeing what everyone else is doing on Facebook, just take yourself off. Try and be calm, try and relax, and get yourself in your zone so that you are ready to run your race, run your marathon. But it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to get too super duper panicked on race week. You don't have to have mega panic and mega paranoia. It doesn't have to be that way if you get yourself organized. So how has your marathon preparations been going? Are you now clear on how you are going to be tapering? So do you understand your training plan? And do you understand how your training plan is going to start backing off in those final weeks through the taper period? And do you know how you need to adapt your diet through those final weeks of training so you're not going to be putting on weight? And do you know how to carb load to make sure that you're going to be full of fuel and full of energy, so you're going to be ready to run and you're going to be powering through your marathon on race day? Or are you worried about what you need to be doing next? Are you still a little bit concerned about what taper's all about, carb loading, and all of that stuff that you need to get ready to run your race? So if you've got everything sorted in advance, you're going to be absolutely stonking this marathon. It is going to be the best race of your life. So if you've got everything sorted in advance, you can relax through race week. You can take it in your stride, knowing you've got everything right, everything is already prepared. So would you like some help to understand how to taper and to make sure that your tapering is right for you? You've got the right plan in place and you know exactly how to back off those last few weeks through your training. Does your diet and the food you're eating need to get under control? And do you need help with understanding how to carb load with confidence without feeling full and bloated before your run? Because you really don't want to get to race day or a couple of days before the marathon and just feel, oh my goodness, I couldn't eat another plate of pasta. And would you like some support from someone to answer your last minute questions? Are you the sort of person who's just got thousands and thousands of questions? It's going to be running through your mind and you're just not going to know where to turn. And you're going to start panicking about what's going to go on race day and what is it all going to be all about. And do you need to make sure that you've got all of that sorted so you can get to race day, so you can arrive at race day feeling confident and ready to run? So I'm starting some coaching this Wednesday, which is called Prepare to Run Your Marathon Group Coaching. And in this coaching, which is going to start Wednesday, 8 o'clock, I'm going to be helping you to give you my marathoner and nutrition coach tips and advice and support to help you get ready to run your race on marathon day. So what's included in this? What are we going to be doing in Prepare to Run Your Marathon? Well, first up, week 1, we're going to be starting off with Tune Up Your Taper. So this is what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday. I will be talking about, more detail about what taper is all about and what training you should be doing and what training you shouldn't be doing in the final 3 weeks of your plan. And we'll make sure that you're not training too much or you're not training enough. So we need to make sure that you're doing the right amount of training to allow your body to rest and recover, but you're not just sitting on your backside waiting for the marathon to turn up. So and then next week, what we're going to be looking at, we are then going to look at how to carb load with confidence. And in this workshop, I'm going to explain why we carb load, and I'm going to take you through meal planning for race week to get your carb loading right, because there are a lot of myths around carb loading. And I know the first time that I ran a marathon, I had no idea. And I think I started carb loading about a month beforehand. And you can probably guess the size that I was by the time I got to race day. So next week, we're going to talk about race week nutrition and how to carb load with confidence. Then the following week, we are going to be doing Prepare to Race Perfectly. In this workshop, we're going to look at everything else that you need to be doing about marathon preparations. And as your coach, I'm going to make sure you've got absolutely everything sorted. So anything you can do early, we're going to get done. And then to make sure that you don't have those mega panics on race day or the couple of days before race day. We're also going to go through what you need to be doing in the final 24 hours before your race, including, what do you need to be eating, what is Expo all about, how you're going to get your number, just to make sure that you're ready, you know exactly what to expect, and it's not a big surprise or it's not a big panic when you get to race week. And finally, we're going to be looking at Eat Right for Recovery. We're going to be talking about what you need to be doing to recover from your marathon. I know, we're only really interested in getting to the race and getting our bling and getting our t-shirt and maybe having a celebration beer afterwards. But what we need to make sure that you're recovering well from the minute that you cross the finish line. And in the final week of this coaching, I'm going to be talking about how to eat right for recovery, so that you're not spending weeks and weeks and weeks feeling absolutely dreadful because you haven't taken the right recovery steps early on after you've just finished your racing. And all of this, so we want to make sure that you're ready to run your marathon on race day. So get ready to race coaching starts on Wednesday. I'm going to be doing it at 8 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and I'm also thinking about doing a second group on Saturday, and the Saturday group will be at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning. So It's going to be absolutely fabulous. I've had a couple of people go, a couple of groups already going through this coaching, who were doing some of the other earlier marathons like Manchester, and you know, we've covered the taper, we've covered carb loading, and given loads and loads of people tips to make sure that they're getting prepared, getting ready for their races. So these coaching workshops are starting this week, and they're really focusing in on everybody who's running London, or if you're running something in like Newport or one of the other marathons that's a little bit later on in the season. So we're starting on Wednesday, and Wednesday we kicking off with Tune Up Your Taper, which is really going to help you understand what you need to be doing right after you've done your maximum run, which is coming up pretty soon. So if you're interested in joining me for these workshops, send me a message either at Helen at Wentworth, by email, helen@wentworthwellness.co.uk. That's the email address that you got the link to this workshop. Or send me a messenger message, and I can give you more details about the workshops, and we can get you ready and prepared to run your marathons this spring. Because guys, it is going to be absolutely epic. I'm running London this year, and I'm so excited. And it's going to be an absolutely great day. And I'm hoping that the tips that I've shared with you this evening have really helped you understand some of the important things that you need to get right, get ready and get right to run your marathon. And if you want any further information and you want further coaching about what you need to be doing to get ready for race day, drop me a message and I can give you further information about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Okay guys, so thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Take care. See you soon. Bye.